investors' relations, established contacts with media, corporate tycoons, and government policy maker. Satya has worked with companies like Indian Express, Expo Media, Akshaya Patra, etc., and has made a deep imprint on those companies. Satya is armed with a master's degree in internal studies with a mass communication, post-graduation, and a master's in political science. He topped the university and was a gold medalist. He was also president of University Students' Union. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the firebrand Satya, put your hands together and welcome Satya for the opening address.
Thank you, Anita, for your kind words. I would like to invite you for this exclusive third Annual India Leadership Conclave 2012 at the Silicon Valley of Bengaluru. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you because of one reason. Now we are going to focus on the brand India. This topic itself is a controversial one, although many people talk different versions of it. To my mind, the brand India, the emerging of superpower, when I consulted some of the top industry leaders, top media barons, and the analysts, including the ministers in the government, I had got a mixed reactions of what this conclave is going to throw up and down. Over the next 4 hours, we are going to witness some of the powerful presentation from the speakers, and we will debate which direction the India is going now. The first Annual India Leadership Conclave, when we did it in Delhi, I had made an aptly theme, will Indian economy bounce back by 2010? Now, on the second edition of India Leadership Conclave, I wanted to connect with the masses and called upon Anna Hazare and Kiran Bedi. Because of this initiative, Chief Minister of Maharashtra went out of the venue. To my mind, when the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, if some of the ministers go out, it doesn't make any impact on me as long as I connect with the masses. Because to my mind, I feel it is the collective voices which is going to rule. We cannot suppress the opinion of the collective voices. Here in Bangalore, we are seeing a tumultuous political turmoils. We don't know what is happening all over the country. Now, industrialists who are sitting over there now, I can tell you with full responsibility and confidence, they are not at all secured because they are afraid the kind of decisions the government is taking when it comes to foreign direct investment or when it comes to setting up SEZ zones and when it comes to exports policy. You have seen in aviation sector, because of the faulty programs of the government, many of the aviation sectors has taken a back seat. It is not only the Kingfisher Airlines, but the various airlines are in deep troubles. And the government of India tells that it is going to bounce back. To my mind, it is not going to happen now. India is a country where 1.25 billion population are there now. Out of 1.25 population, 72.5% population do come from the rural villages. These are the people who earn less than $1 per day now. Now, those people who stay in Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities and have got access to all those amenities, look at those people who do not have access like basic health care, say about literacy, education. Government is not doing anything because they are only concerned about their political equations. They want to save their jobs, and that is what it is happening actually. I can tell you a recent incident. There is a tough fight going on with the central government. There is a move to remove Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and install Rahul Gandhi, which I can tell you with the breaking news is going to happen in next 15 to 30 days because they feel that they want to bring Rahul Gandhi on the forefront because of the SP winning the power in Uttar Pradesh, and they want to project Rahul Gandhi over there now. Now, with this kind of tumultuous political situations, with a lot of confusions coming in, can we claim ourselves as a brand India, as a superpower now? Yes, I'm an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optimist. We have progressed tremendously. I can see some of the leading voices. Some of the Mr. Karwa is there, Dr. Batra is there, Mr. Rekhi is there, Dr. Jagasati is there, Mr. Naveen is there, Nishant is there. These are the people who have made India proud actually. These are the people who created the brands. These are the brands which established in the worldwide market. We need to develop those brands. But when I talk to them personally, they talk to me, they tell that we are not getting that kind of incentives from the government. Are you going to blame the government or are you going to blame them actually? I should say that we are going to blame the government actually. Look at the kind of media that is happening. There is an attempt to subvert the very fabrics of the Indian democracy, but it is not going to happen now. They did it with Anna Hazare, did it with Ramdev, they did it with many people. Now they're telling that these people are silent, they're not doing anything. The basic problem is that they don't want to lose the gaddis. And if there is a dynamic system comes to India, then they cannot rule over them. They cannot rule over them. Here lies the basic problems now. If you want an industrial development, look at the GDP now. We are struggling with the GDP now. It's not growing that much. And look at the westernized countries, European countries. Already there is a triple X vaccine gone from the US and France now. And I can tell you now, India is on a stable platform. India is very robust. And Indian industries are also very robust. But we need to concentrate on few areas like manpower, like resources, and need a lot of support from the government, because these sectors need a lot of research and development incentives. R&D is the key feature in any organization. Whether you talk about IT, you talk about manufacturing, anywhere actually. So the government has to give a full support to make the dream come true and what India is today. And we are competing with some of the biggest nations like China, USA, France, Germany, and others. But India is the country which has got the unique culture. Look at the kind of caste, creeds, religions. So many sectarian things are there now, but we still are united. We still are living in a state of peace and harmony. So let us maintain the same spirit, same harmony, and I'm sure the coming days, the people have woken up now. The brand India is going to be much, much more bigger, and I can tell you with full responsibility that it will be an emerging superpower in 2050 to 2020, provided the government gives us direction. Thank you very much for your support, and Anita will take over the next presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Dr. Mukesh Batra, founder chairman, Dr. Batra's. Dr. Batra's not only set up a corporate empire but extended the medical benefit of this safe and sure system throughout the country, equally through path-breaking commercial as well as charitable initiatives. Entering the profession at the time when he was regarded as an Asian art, little better than faith healing and practiced mainly by amateurs and retirees. Today, standardized homeopathic treatment is available all around the country and freely to the poor and needy. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Dr. Mukesh Batra on the stage for the inauguration speech. So.
Thank you very much, and a wonderful evening to all of you. Thank you for being here. I believe India has always had a better head for business than heart for battle. As legions of our intrepid merchants and manufacturers march across the globe, our long-held belief, make money, not war, is proving a truly world beater of a strategy. What I shall focus on today are the biggest challenges, opportunities, and success stories of Indian brands growing global. And like all good Indians, let me start with a few lessons from my own company, Dr. Batra's. It was 1996 when we were an established brand in Mumbai and beginning to expand across India, that we also took homeopathy and our first step outside to Mauritius. The very first hurdle that we faced when I was going to start the clinic over there, I called on the vice president and I said, would you please inaugurate my clinic? And he said, certainly, I will do it. And when I went to meet him, he said, do you know that homeopathy is not recognized in this country? And if you actually practice, sir, I'll arrest you and put you behind bars. I said, I've done it with a few Ayurvedic doctors as well. So having set up the entire network, I had to actually, take a retreat, go every week and every weekend to Mauritius, talk to the president, the vice president, the health minister, the secretaries, the whole people, convince them about homeopathy, a period which took 6 months, and ultimately then get legislation passed in parliament in favor of homeopathy. And we then set up the world's first homeopathy clinic in Mauritius. As if that was not enough, we still had to find French-speaking and Creole-speaking doctors, because that was the local language there. And to paraphrase Vidya Balan, ooh la la, I really don't think that I'd ever have done it again. And yet when we came to Dubai, and when Dubai came up with its top-of-the-line Dubai Healthcare City, Dr. Batras became the only Indian and the only homeopathy company to set up shop over there in 2009. Since then, we've been living up to the very stringent standards, so much so that we've even won an award for practicing the best infotech systems and processes. Even though, again, as a country policy, we are not allowed to transfer our patients' case histories from there, anywhere else. Our third international foray was in London, where we set up a clinic in Harley Street. Imagine our dismay when we were told that as per UK norms, we could not use the term doctor, no matter that a brand name itself is Dr. Batras. Perhaps our most successful globalization endeavor has been Dr. Batras' cyber clinic. I was traveling with Shekhar Kapoor, who was on his second honeymoon and to Mauritius, and sitting next to him, and he's a great avid internet fan at that time, and he said, "Doc, you've got all these wonderful clinics, why don't you actually start a cyber clinic? And why don't you start treating patients in cyber clinic?" And I said, "Well, that sounds like a good idea, but how do I do it?" And we then got together, and in 1996, we actually set up the world's first cyber clinic. The idea was, how many branches can we have in brick and mortar? And can we not offer consultation through a payment gateway on the internet? And can we not break barriers of time and space? And therefore, today, I think this new concept of globalization, where you don't have to globalize by actually having physical branches all over, but you can actually use the net as a very strong method of globalization. We actually cater to people from over 86 countries. And we have been in the Limca Book of Records for having treated 4.5 lakh, that's 500,000 patients online, the largest in the world by any single doctor. Now, this is only possible because we use technology. With my limited experience of international brands and Indian brands going global, let me now share with you what I think are essentials of becoming a global brand. First, let me go through the requisites. I think the first requisite to be a global player is to be a local leader. If you're not a leader in your own country, you can't actually aim to conquer the world. And these are examples that you can see of Haier and Samsung, wherein they became big giants in their own countries, and then they went and took over the world. The second important thing, I think very important if you want to be a global player, and if India has to actually take center stage in the world, it has to commit to discipline. And I'm sorry to say, a lot of Indian companies are not actually disciplined. Whether it's discipline of time, whether it's time management, whether it's resource management, we really find it difficult. And I think in everything that we do, we have to build and have a central philosophy of the brand. This is very, very important if we actually have to grow. Let me take the example of Apple. Its basic philosophy is design. And if you open an Apple computer, you'll find that the inside is as beautiful as the outside. That's the kind of passion for perfection and the passion for design. I also believe that as the economic prowess of the nation grows, so do their country's brands. Examples of these are Germany after the World War. Examples are Japan. Examples today are Korea and China, and of course now India. This is what Gurgaon was 20 years ago. You had more bicycles than cars. And this is what it looks like today. Over 100 years ago, India had 27% of the world GDP. And today it's approximately 1%. And it's estimated by that 2050, we shall again regain our lost glory and again get almost 27% of GDP. This is what the brand Tata was known as 20 years ago. Every time you thought of Tata, okay, bye-bye. Because Tata was known for trucks, and that's what you thought, what you saw behind. And this is what Tata is known for today, for Jags, for Land Rovers, for Chorus. Today, Britishers don't even know that if they're actually having tea, it's no longer English tea. It's actually Tetley, which is now owned by Tatas. It's actually Tata tea. If you sleep in a hotel, you're actually sleeping perhaps in a Tata hotel, which is owned by Tatas in London. If you're actually wearing a shoe, Tata imports 800,000 shoes from China, only in Europe. So maybe the Europeans are actually wearing a Tata shoe. And if you're actually using your cable and your Skype, it's very possible that even that is connected by Tata Telecoms. This is the power of an Indian global brand. And this is how change has happened over a period of time. Let me address a few opportunities. I think the biggest opportunity that we are going to get is to cater to an aging population. Today we are a young India, and I see so many young people here again today. And we always say that we have 1 billion Indian dreams, and these are young people who are going to take this forward. But I believe that if young people are not empowered with education, especially technical education, they will not be able to contribute nationally. And it's going to lead, and if there are not enough jobs, there's going to lead a lot of frustration in young minds. But let us understand that while in India, we are catering to young diseases. Today we are talking about acne, and we're talking about hair loss, and we're talking about skin problems. Very soon, and especially if you have to go global, you'll have to actually start catering to an aging population. Because while India is a young India, Europe and Japan and many other countries in the world actually have an aging population. And therefore, we'll have to move our product design and our services from young people to aging people. This is a huge industry that's going to come up, which is going to be called the silver industry. You're going to have to make wheelchairs, you're going to have access, you're going to have walking sticks, Japan has already done it, it's already, for example, it's already changed, bottle caps so that old people can actually uncork them easily by giving them, little depressions on the top. So it becomes easy. So all product design will have to change to cater to an aging population everywhere else. And I think that's a challenge that we have to face. Similarly, I believe that today young people are using technology. But just to give an example, we are today using technology to play video games and to communicate. And that's what a lot of young people do. I think when you look at people, I think what they're really doing is they're actually playing on the video games. I mean, I have an interesting story to tell. I was in an airport once and doing my work, and somebody came to me and said that, Doc, what are you doing? I said, I'm answering my emails. He said, you're the only guy I know who's actually using his iPad, not to play games at the airport, but actually to do some business. So I think a lot of us actually use it to pass time. And this is a young passion. It's like boys and their toys, and we all use it for that. But if we actually have to go abroad, we're going to have to use mobile application hugely. And all over the world today, people are actually using mobile phones for self-diagnosis, to seek medical consultation. And in India, even we have started a concept called mHealth, where you can actually take an appointment, you can talk to your doctor, you can actually, communicate with a clinic, you can call for your medicines by courier. I mean, we did this a couple of years ago, and this is going to be the future of medical treatment all over the world. And therefore, we'll have to evolve, even though we are very strong in technology, but we have to evolve technology to meet international needs. We can't present it the way we are doing today. We're also going to look at opportunity of resource scarcity, whether it's oil, whether it's water, whether it's fuel, natural minerals. I think what's going to happen is people are now, and companies, Indian companies, are now going to go abroad and start looking at countries like Australia and Africa, which are still not tapped, because they're still rich in natural resources and the world hasn't yet got there. And that's going to be an opportunity for Indians as well and Indian companies. On the flip side, also Indian companies will have to learn to deal with foreign governments, we are so used to our Indian jugaad that we always think that we can get, work done very easily. But everywhere there's a different ball game. I mean, the FDA in USA is so regulated and so difficult. Advertising councils in UK where we practice are so strict that you're really not allowed to advertise. And there are so many restrictions everywhere where we go. We'll have to learn how to deal with that. We always think that India has got red tapeism, but let me tell you with my experience of Dubai, Middle East, I mean, Dubai was very easy because it was a kind of a Dubai healthcare city which was separately controlled, by the princess of Dubai. But otherwise, every other country has even more red tapeism as compared to what India has. And it takes much longer to set up, in spite of all the fast tracks that they claim to be, especially in healthcare. It's very regulated and really very difficult to deal with that. Sectors that we need to focus on are agro-foods. It's believed that the amount of food that will be required in the next 50 years will be as much as what we've used up in the last 100,000 years. We've already spoken of infrastructure, biotechnology, education, and of course, my favorite and passion, healthcare, is going to grow all over the world because people now are going to live longer, but they're not necessarily going to live healthier. And therefore, there's going to be a longer and a greater need for degenerative diseases like arthritis, diabetes, lifestyle diseases like obesity, and so on and so forth. Each of these is worth, industries according to McKinsey studies, more than 5,000 crores. And therefore, I think Indian companies are now going to start looking at this. Of course, opportunities are not without challenges. And I think everywhere one has to learn how to deal with local competition. You call in marketing the first mover advantage, and Indian companies don't have it because they're already well-entrenched local players, which are very, very strong. And therefore, how do you deal with that is always a challenge. I think one of the biggest challenges is not only market share, but also a cultural challenge. When Indian managers who are really very, very good, otherwise, when they go abroad, they find it very difficult to adjust to international cultures and different cultures of different people. And I think that proves the challenge again. We are still very self-centered in what we do, and we don't take group decisions, which is what is done everywhere in the West. I mean, I remember we have a collaboration with Switzerland with a company called Bioforce, and we manufacture the medicines in India. And when I went there, the first thing I learned is that, even the managing director and chairman of the company doesn't sign any agreement or any paper or any letter singly. It's always signed jointly. And so there's always sharing of responsibility and accountability, even at the top level. And this is actually lacking in Indian companies right now. Understanding the local customer needs and restructuring and reconciling the brand portfolio becomes very important. Examples of these are Toyota and Honda. You have German cars, and they're wonderful for German engineering. We all drive Mercedes and BMWs. But they are really catering to be self-driven. You'll find that the entire control panel of a Mercedes car or BMW is in the wheel. Everything is in the wheel. But how many Indians actually drive the cars themselves? We always have chauffeurs to drive cars for us. And therefore, there's a need to have a chauffeur-driven car. You need to have controls at the back. If I have to drive my car, I can't, if I have to sit in my car, I have to ask my chauffeur to actually put on the DVD or the video or the news if I'm, being driven anywhere, because I don't have the control. He has the control on the wheel. Similarly, the suspension has to be very strong. You can't drive 100 kilometers in 10 seconds on Indian roads. You'll actually fall off and jump off the window. So cars have to be made, tailor-made for India. I remember when I went to Dubai, and people preferred over there again to use Japanese cars versus German cars. Why? Because German cars, the cooling was not great, and they wanted to have great air conditioning. So everywhere, I think there has been local innovation, and this is really what we'll have to do as well when we move abroad. How to achieve a delicate balance between maintaining brand identity while customizing brand message to appeal to local cultures and preferences. In short, how do we become local? HSBC is an example of this. Their byline is the world's local bank. Disney World failed in France and Hong Kong because they presumed that whatever worked for them in America would also work for their French and Chinese customers, and that didn't happen. McDonald's when it entered India, had to reconfigure its menu. They had to say no beef and yes to aloo tikki burgers. Whenever one goes abroad, one also has to think of loss of aspirational value, which can lead to brand dilution. You had M&S, Marks and Spencer's. And I had every woman whom I knew telling me, Doc, when you go abroad, please get my lingerie from there. Today, when it's in your neighborhood store, you actually don't even bother about it. So brand dilution also becomes an issue. We've already spoken about this, that you have to manage country risks. I think an important thing for international brands is also to shed their nationality. I mean, if you look at MTV, Coke, or Nike, you don't actually think from which country do they originate, because they so easily become international brands. And I think Indian brands, when they go abroad, will also have to do a similar thing. At some stage, you'll have to forget that it was a Tata company, which is an Indian company. It'll actually become an international brand, and people will start respecting it. Finally, I think the important thing is that as Indians, we must learn to tell our story. And this is something that really we've not been doing. All businessmen and business leaders must show and tell and take their story to the global stage. There are so many wonderful people who are doing wonderful work, but their story is not told. And people are completely unaware internationally, like a Microsoft or a Dell did. One such story that we've told the world is again about the nano. The world acknowledges it as a marvel of frugal engineering. We need to show and tell many more such stories. Before I close, we need to learn from the past, learn from Japan and Korea, and learn from the mistakes they made. They always thought that they were wonderful managers, and therefore if they actually bought weak companies, they could turn them around. And that actually really didn't happen. And therefore, finally, according to me, the essentials for success are really that top management must have clarity of purpose. It's very important that when you go abroad or when you acquire a company, you actually know what is the reason for your acquisition. Is it technology? Is it to gain market share? Is it to have patent rights? And so on and so forth. There must be granular approach to prioritize. For example, in healthcare, it's better to be the leader in 2 states in America rather than going to a country in Southeast Asia. Because the healthcare market in America is so huge that even having leadership in 2 states is bigger than having leadership in a southeastern country. Very important to induct and retain global talent. Companies which actually make it big at least have 100 middle-level managers. And let us not underestimate the role of middle-level managers. They are the actual people who actually make things happen. They are the operational people. There's a strategy group and there's an operational group. One person dreams and other people make it happen. So unless you have a core talent of at least 100 middle-level managers who are willing to go abroad and set up businesses, it's not easy. Finally, I like to end with a quote of Jimmy Thinley, Prime Minister of the world's happiest nation, Bhutan. He says, the world needs a shared human vision in place of the mindless pursuit of limitless growth in a finite world. India has the benefit of a strong spiritual tradition that should help us maintain equilibrium even in the race of market share. The important thing to understand is there is much to learn and much to do. In a world seeking change, audacious thinking will reap rich rewards. India Inc., according to me, currently stands at this cusp with the world watching and waiting. My advice, never mind thinking it over. This once, just do it. Thank you.